Fantastic. Good morning. What a beautiful day it is here. I hope it is with you all too, because, wow, we waited a long time for summer this year. I think most people did. I mean, we've got one of our Handy Quilter ambassadors, Laurie Tigner, is up in North Dakota, or South Dakota? South Dakota. And I know that she had some really late snow. So did my friend Kate in Denver. So everybody's not had the weather that we had maybe last year. But finally it's come through, and for half-term week as well, which is an absolute joy. So it's about 21 degrees here, and we've got all the doors open, and it's just beautiful. Blue sky. And yesterday, when we've been prepping for our classes, they start tomorrow, yesterday I could hear this sort of aircraft. We don't hear many aircraft because there aren't so many flights. You could hear this aircraft making accelerating and decelerating noises, and apparently there's an air show at Ragley Hall, which isn't very far away. And the guy was doing his practice runs just in the back field out the back here. So I had like a free view of this incredible, spectacular twin wing, whatever that's called, biplane. It was absolutely brilliant, just for me. Anyway, welcome to Pinhole Quilting. I'm Liz Holpin, and my husband Pete, he's behind the camera, which is just as well because I haven't had time to cut his hair for a while. And it's almost long enough to have a man bun, which is a bit of a scary prospect for Pete. He's not really of the age. No offense to those older man bun people, but I just don't think it's really his look. So we will be doing that before the classes tomorrow, won't we, Pete?
I hope so.
I hope so. Yeah, I hope so too. Upcoming events. I just thought for a minute I might actually get my Facebook Live where I can see it as well. But it's amazing.
Di says she can't hear, but nobody else has made that comment. So Di, I think it might just be you. You got your sound muted.
Yeah, maybe. And this is the problem actually. Sometimes people have gone into YouTube or something like that and didn't want the noise. No, I can't get this going. Maybe you can do that in a bit for me, Pete. So what we are going to do today, apart from stay cool, calm and collected, because there is that whole thing, we aim to start at 11 a.m. and then at 5:02, when the speaker things aren't working, the microphones aren't working, and then we suddenly go, oh gosh, I forgot that, and we haven't got this. So this morning it was a bit like that, because we've got the classes starting tomorrow, and we haven't run classes since September 2020. So there's quite a lot of preparation to do, and thankfully we've had lots of help with Pauline, who's been doing our mail order while we're in Scotland. She's also been helping. Thank you very much, Pauline, for doing that. We've also got Abigail coming later today to do the final setup. So we're looking forward to seeing our Foundation Plus customers tomorrow, and it will be happening tomorrow because Pete and I did our lateral flow test this morning.
And we're negative.
And we're negative. So if you're coming to the class tomorrow, one of the conditions of coming to the classes is that you do a lateral flow test. And if you need to get one, you can get one from chemists. You can order them via the NHS app, etc. But we do need you to have done a lateral flow test within 3 days of the class. So if you could do that, that'd be great. Just a little reminder there. Okay. Hiya, I might be there before you finish this. What does Diane? Diane, are you coming? Oh yeah, you're coming down. You might be. Have a safe journey.
Diane is en route, I believe.
Diane, have a safe journey and enjoy your drive down. I hope you don't have too much traffic. So yeah, we're looking forward to seeing a lot of these customers. We haven't met. We had met Diane actually, but Pete, you have, and I'm sure we've met at the shows. But a lot of our customers we haven't seen. And one of those customers, I did the blog post this morning on the Joe Avery visit that we did up in Scotland. When we were up in Scotland, we did lots of different things, including seeing our Moxie mentor, Joe Avery. Joe lives near Linlithgow in Scotland, and it's a beautiful area. And funnily enough, there's a house that you drive past called the Binns, Binns, and it is the family seat of Tam Dalyell. Tam Daniel. Now, he sadly passed away in 2018. So anyway, we're driving past this up at Linlithgow, and I go, the bins, that's really amazing, because I knew, like, I'd been on a canoe course up in Scotland when I was 20, and I met this really lovely girl, or two girls, Moira and Susie, were on the canoe course with me, and we got on like a house on fire. We were sort of similar age. I think they were 18, they just finished their hires in Scotland. Anyway, Moira, Tam Dalyell's daughter, we just got on brilliantly, and we continued writing to each other afterwards. So I used to write to the bins, Linlithgow and stuff. Now, I've never been to the bins, but now I know where she lived. It's like, wow, I had no idea. But we continued to communicate for, I don't know, a couple of years or something, just talking about life, the universe, and everything. So that was quite funny. And I would just love, actually, I kind of thinking her mum still lives at this fantastic place. And it's got like a folly in the garden, like hundreds of acres and stuff, and it's amazing. And we had a really cool canoe course actually up at Aviemore, and whitewater canoeing. So I fancy getting in touch with Moira. The next time I go up and see Jo, I think I need to go and see Moira as well. I know that she lives somewhere up in Scotland, not too far away. So that was very exciting. So Jo Avery has been doing some great stuff on her Moxie, but when we went up, quite interestingly, and those of you who've got a Moxie or a loft frame, you may be interested to know that one of the things that you need to do, your wheels are concave, unlike a lot of the handy quilter wheels are convex. And having just done a workshop with Papa Sax 10, person whose name now just escapes me, last Saturday. She does all convex and concave shapes, so I know all about that now. And basically, it accumulates the lint and mixes with oil and gets compressed and goes really, really hard and makes it feel like you're going over an old corrugated road or something. So it's like, so when we got there, Jo said, you know, my circles aren't as good as they were, and I'm finding it really difficult to kind of get a really nice circle, and I feel like I should be getting better, not converse. So we had a look at her wheels, and we've put a video up on our blog post about our visit to Jo that shows what the wheels look like, and you'll see it's quite amazing how they've kind of just got this embedded grunge that we then clear out, and then she has a go at quilting with a Moxie, and it's all fixed. So anybody who's got a Moxie with a loft frame, check out your wheels, piece of wadding, just scrape away the excess gently with something soft, not hard. You don't want to scratch the inside of those wheels, and just remove any lint and dust and all that kind of stuff, and you will be good to go. Loving the black and white quilt in the background. Yeah, now this one, thank you, Lindsay. Lindsay's over in in Switzerland, and has an Avanti with Pro Stitcher. The quilt here is actually by another person who lives up in the borders of Scotland. That's by our handy quilter ambassador, Pauline Burbage. And it's a really beautiful quilt. Now, there's going to be an exhibition of Pauline Burbage's work at the Ruthin Art Centre in Wales next year, it is. And when Pete and I went up in early 2020? I think it was, wasn't it? What's the date on that? I think it is early.
I can't remember.
There's a date and a dedication. That says Liz and Pete on the thing, on the side. Pauline made that for us, and we went up, and we wanted to help Pauline sort of put that exhibition together. So we purchased her quilt, and it's really cool. We love it. So that is an example of the sort of work that Pauline will be doing for the Ruthin exhibition. Obviously, we will let you know in due course. So that will be really, really interesting, and we'll be helping and sort of maybe doing some demos and things like that. So what are we doing today? We are talking about lots of things, but first of all, I wanted to say a massive, massive thank you to Carolyn Clark. So Carolyn Clark of Sussex Elf Quilting, she responded fantastically, helpfully to my little kind of call for help, a cry for help, which is that I hadn't finished binding on lots of my samples. So I sent Carolyn some of the samples that were not yet finished, including this fantastic quilt sample by Carly Porter. How good is that? So this is what Carly did when I was doing We did some teaching with Carly in 2015 when we were at when I was at the Cotton Patch, and Carly did a really cool graffiti quilting pen thing, as well as this, as well as the couching sample we've got up here in the showroom, and she did it on the door to the corridor in the Cotton Patch. So if ever you see that, it's Carly Porter. And so that was bound using the technique which is called faced binding. So basically this gets taken back, doesn't have a binding as such. So a number of different ways of doing this, and this is how Carolyn's done this. And she's done it with it's sort of folded over here. You can actually have it so that that's open and can take like a dowel, and then you can actually put it up on a wall, for example, using a frame. So that's an example of faced binding. Beautiful. This is our example of pantograph, the drift pattern that comes when you get the quilting from the back kit for either any of the long arm machines. And the bottom one is the spirals and the... Oh, my phone's going. It's probably my dad, isn't it? That's my dad. My dad's phoning me on my phone, even though every week I do 11 a.m. Facebook. Okay, so that is spirals and concentric squares using groovy boards. So I thought that would be a great one to do. And so Carolyn has done a nice mitered binding in black on that one. Cool. That's good.
They look so much better with a binding on.
They really, it transforms a quilt. This little one was done on a Sweet 16, and it was using one of the rulers that is the jade ruler. So it's sort of, you rotate it, and I marked it with the Cindy Needham stencils, rotated it, and then just filled in the gaps with just a little bit of extra quilting. Carolyn's bound that in a contrasting colour of binding. Lovely. And here we've got, this is one that actually I cut this off. Abigail won't know this, but I cut this off from one of her samples because I thought it was really nice to show Cindy Needham. And this is a grid
tilt it up a bit,
background.
That's better.
And it's a grid background, and you just basically eyeball your shapes to create. So from a base grid, you then do continuous line design effectively to create that. And this one's just got the extra little squiggle. Yeah, squiggle, Pete. That's a good word. Squiggle.
Lots of people liking your blouse, Liz, which, you know,
oh, yeah.
You're looking very 60s this morning, I think.
I am looking very 60s. I didn't buy it in the 60s. I bought it a long time ago in a very hot climate. It's nice, isn't it?
And according to somebody in Wales, Helen, it's not Ruthin, it's Riffin.
Oh, gosh, do you know, when I said it, what was the other thing? I said Tam Dalyell. It's Tam Dalyell, isn't it?
Yes, I think there's a few silent things in there, you know.
Riffin.
Riffin, apparently, yes.
Yeah, I knew it wasn't quite right. Thank you, Helen. Thank you for that. Now, this one is the Dream Big one I did, which is the small Dream Big panel. I think we've only got this left in the neon, haven't we? We don't have any more stock of this. Neon. But this has got a lovely flange binding. So it's got like a double binding. And some people leave the flange so that you can actually get underneath it. I've done that with a black and white flange before now, and it's really effective, particularly on kids' quilts where you've got lots of bright colours. But what Carolyn's done here is like a little accent with the black, and then very effective.
It, doesn't it? So
and the binding is actually a K-facet fabric that I had as a bit of a scrap, and I thought, oh, those colours are pretty much the Dream Big. And that actually really worked. So it kind of ties it in, almost like it looks like a big scale Dream Big going around the outside. Love it.
Yes.
So thank you, Carolyn. You are a star.
And Dalyell is definitely the pronunciation, according to.
I only knew as Moira. I didn't really. I mean, at the time, I knew he was. I think somebody told me he was an MP. They were all Scottish people that we were on this course with. And they all knew him, of course, and they probably kept their distance a bit. Oh, it can't be my dad again.
Oh, yes, it is.
I don't know how to tell him. Oh, bless. I saw my parents earlier this week, and I know a lot of people know Jean and Jeff from the Cotton Patch, and they're fine. They're both good and hale and hearty and all that kind of stuff. But I think they're getting of an age where they just, you tell them that you're on Facebook Live at 11 o'clock and it's Saturday, and to be honest, that is not what they think of when they're phoning you. So this week we got in some lovely handy quilter bags that just happen to go beautifully with that logo and with the Moxie. I'm just looking over there at the Moxie. It goes, and with my shirt. We are so colour coordinated here. It's just effortless. So This bag, do you want to talk about the bag?
Nice lime green this year. So handy quilter bags are a different colour every year. So this is the first ones that we've got for the 2021 edition, which are lime green. Lovely.
And as well as my dad phoning, we've now got somebody at the door who's
hello,
who's coming to pick up coming to pick up a frame that's been purchased after 12 noon. So we seem to have a few issues this morning. Thanks. Right, so handy quilter bag in lime green. Anybody who orders anything over £50 today will get this week we'll get a free handy quilter bag in lime green, ready to put your completed quilts in, because you will, of course, quilted them and completed them on your long arm. Now, the other thing that we're doing this week is I'm going to talk to you a little bit about wadding. And on the theme of wadding, one of the things that we have a problem with sometimes, if you have what some people like to call fur babies, is that they like to kind of burrow or just play or generally destroy wadding when it's on the floor. Or you might have a little bit of excess fur baby on the floor that then gets caught up onto your white on white quilt. So trying to keep your wadding clean and keeping it up off the floor and all that kind of stuff, we have the handy hammock. Handy hammock. Normally £44. We have got a 10% discount this week on the handy hammock. So if anybody's got a loft frame, Studio 2 frame or Gallery 2 frame, Studio frame or Gallery frame, you can fit a handy hammock. And it's a great thing. We got it over here so we can show you.
Yeah. So it wasn't designed for the loft frame, but as we've mentioned before, it does fit on the loft frame. We'll put in a couple of extra fitments for you if you do have the loft frame, because it fits slightly differently than on the Studio or the Gallery frame.
So this is it. Because it doesn't have, as Pete said, it doesn't have the kind of, wasn't designed for this, we've set it up in a way that enables it to be attached at the sides just with a cable, with cable tie. I've left it long so you can see this. There we go. So it just comes round here and comes round here and is joined in the middle. For an 8-foot loft frame, you do it like this. You could do it where that went back on itself because you need it slightly longer for a 10-foot loft frame.
We'll do some photos.
Yeah, we'll do some photos. We will do some photos.
To fit it on a loft frame, but it's very straightforward. That
is what we'll do. We'll do some photos. That would be great. And so handy hammock, it's going to really help keep all of that wadding out of the way and ready for you to as you move on. Now, we're talking about wadding. Wadding's kind of one of those things that pretty important part of your quilting. So good morning to Di. She's now got her sound on. I think these are old comments now. Oh yeah. Keeping you on your toes, Jacqueline.
Your parents.
Oh yeah. Yes. Yeah, they might have installed a tracking device on my phone. Don't know. Maybe they'd. Right, so this is a session. I'm just going to give you a little bit of insight. Now, a lot of you will know a lot about wadding, I'm sure. But for those of you who don't, it's a bit like thread. It's a bit like needles. There's so much more than you realise. When you get a long arm, you kind of think, well, I just go to the quilt shop and buy some wadding. Great, absolutely fine, because your quilt shop is going to be a place where they specialise in quilt wadding. Years ago, when we used to buy wadding that was manufactured in the UK, back in the 90s, when we did such things, you used to get like wadding 2 ounce, 4 ounce, 6 ounce, 8 ounce, 10 ounce from your furnishing store. And people had come to classes with this stuff that you could almost sort of exfoliate your skin with, that was normally used for furnishing. And then they'd try and quilt with it, and it was horrible. So luckily, things have improved since those days, and we don't really get so many people wanting to quilt with like 8 ounce wadding as we did back in the 1990s. Most people now know that batting for our American cousins is actually something that's really important to how your final quilt looks. And we do have some people who use 2 layers of wadding rather than a single layer. Wadding can be made from cotton, polyester, recycled polyester pellets, wool, silk, bamboo. There might be other things as well. And so we've got to choose the wadding depending on the use of the quilt. Is it going to be washed? How often is it going to be washed? Is it going to need to be quilted densely? If you have something that's liable to pull apart and the wadding is the fibers are not very well held together, the manufacturer will be able to tell how wide apart the quilting stitches should be, and quite often they have that on the packaging. So I've got some different bits of wadding to just show you. For example, this is one of my favorites. This is kind of like my go-to wadding if I just want to make a bed quilt. Quilter's Dream Select. Lovely company, Quilter's Dream. Kathy, who runs it, she took it over from her dad. She is really knowledgeable about wadding, and she produces a very high quality product. But I know there have been problems with availability this year, because I know that, Cotton Patch stocks it, and they have had like really long delivery times quoted. So this is a Super Queen. I know they do it in like double, queen and king, and it comes in either natural or white. A number of different weights. So this is one, the pink one is called Select, suitable for hand and machine quilting, as opposed to the request weight, which would mostly be for hand quilting. And then you've got the deluxe weight, which I've used. This is Dream Cotton Deluxe. And the Deluxe is lovely, but it's more something that you would use for, say, a wall hanging. Doesn't have as much drape, particularly when you've actually pieced it and quilted it and got it on your bed. You don't want it to be sticking out like a piece of cardboard. So it's really important, the drape of things. Now, this is very clean wadding, very clean. And as a result, you can use it pretty much as it comes out the packet. Most wadding is needle punch. Quite often it's needle punch to a scrim. The scrim is not always a natural product. In fact, I don't think it's ever a natural product. So something like Warm and Natural says 100% cotton, but it's actually got a polypropylene scrim. And the scrim goes on the underside, and then needles go through the wadding to hold it to the scrim, which gives it a consistency, which is what you want. And if you ever want to know more about wadding, this is a book. I think it's probably out of print now, but Harriet Hargrave wrote this book with C&T Publishing, From Fibre to Fabric. And in here, Harriet does talk a lot about wadding and how it's made and loads of other things about. There's a whole thing in here about wadding and how they make it and all that kind of stuff. So it's here it is, From Fibre to Fabric, about the cotton gins and combing and spinning and roving and all that kind of stuff. And so it's a really pretty useful book if you want to read more about how wadding is made. The other thing about wadding that comes from natural sources like cotton is that the cotton boll, the outside, in some fibres and in some waddings, I don't think I've got any really dirty stuff, but sometimes you'll see the cotton is like a dark little marks within the wadding. And ideally, what you want is for those to not be in the way of your needle. So if you've got quite a wadding that's got a lot of those seed pod bits on the outside, you want to make sure that that is not going to make your needle deviate from where you want to stitch. So there's usually like a right and a wrong way up. And what you can do is you take a needle and just literally, like the needle punching will have done, just test to see which way up feels the best. Now, most people will say that the one side, like on the example I've got here, and you won't be able to see this on the camera, but one side is quite clearly the side that's been needle punched, and the other side has got like a polypropylene scrim. I can actually see it on the underside of this Quilter's Dream sample. So I know the polypropylene is going to go down, and my quilt top is going to go on the top of the side the needle punches were made. And so most people will have it that as the right way up. And if anybody's got any other ideas, please post them, because it's always worthwhile sharing and just getting an understanding of whether people have different ways of working out which is the right side and which is the wrong. Now, there's lots of other different types of wadding. Did you know that you can tea dye your wadding? I used this for making some years ago. This was, in fact, you can actually see there's more cotton balls on this piece. This is a piece of Warm and Natural, which has a lot more of the bits on it, and then I tea dyed it. And that actually makes a really nice little crafted animals, if you wish, with your scraps. That's quite a nice thing to do. You can also get, of course, black wadding. If you're doing a quilt like this one, this is a quilt that was hand quilted, not machine quilted, and it is very black. Can you see that, Pete?
Yep, that's good.
Okay. So this is a really, really black quilt. And you don't want white wadding for that. So there are a number of different choices that you can have. This one is a 60/40 with scrim, made by a company called Fiberco. The Americans might be able to get Fiberco wadding. Perfect. Oh gosh, I'm trying to think what the names are. They are sold in the UK, I believe. Now this one is Hobbs Heirloom Black. So that's an 80/20 black. And actually no, that one is, beg your pardon, that is Quilter's Dream Black, and this is Hobbs Heirloom 80/20. I can feel the difference, because actually the polyester has got like this sort of slightly catches on your fingers feel about it. So those are some options for your black quilts. Now, if you've got a really, really important quilt that you want to quilt and you want a lovely loft and don't want to go polyester, wool is a really good option. This is Hobbs Heirloom, and Hobbs Heirloom wool is really beautiful. It hand quilts like a knife through butter, as people would say, and it has a lovely loft. And with any wadding like this, you'll want to lay it out in advance and just make sure that you allow it to breathe for a while. But it's really, really beautiful. And we have this inside our log cabin quilt that we use throughout the winter on our bed, and it kind of goes through to late spring because it's a really nice wadding. And when it's quilted up, it is absolutely beautiful. That's another piece of it. And then you've got polyester. So you've got polyester wadding that is either like a needle punched or that has more of a loft. Oh, my bag's empty. That means I haven't got Hobbs poly down. So the one that I suppose I like the most for lofted wadding, more like a 2-ounce wadding, would be Hobbs poly down. That's really, really beautiful. But the other ones are ones like Quilter's Dream Poly, which is in 2 weights, this one Request and this one which is Select. And they also do a green one made of bottles. And years ago, when the Eden Project had got, the local quilt group near to the Eden Project wanted to do a little thing on recycling and the environment. And so the quilters phoned us up and said, we understand you do some green wadding that's made from recycled bottles. So we sent them some samples down, and they actually had that on a stall and stuff at the Eden Project. But there was the one customer who said, she phoned us up just after we'd launched it, really, and she said, I'm interested in this green wadding, but I understand it's made from recycled bottles, and I'm just worried that the bottle, like where the bottle tops are, will be a bit bumpy. So leave that one with you. Okay. Yeah, we were very polite. We were very, very polite. Now, this one this is kind of this is weird. I say it's weird because it feels a bit weird, and it is Hobbs Thermal. It's great as a drapeable wadding, and it's actually really fine. I think I can get into it. Here it is. It's really, really fine. And it's actually, you can use it for things like if you wanted a quilted tablecloth or quilted clothing. It actually quilts beautifully, and it's really consistent, but it's a really, really fine wadding. So I seem to have bits of fabric on all these things because these are all my scraps. So the remains of where else I've used it are still evident on the wadding. So Hobbs Thermal, it's good. I wouldn't use it for a regular quilt unless I really wanted it as a very, very lightweight quilt. Hobbs Thermal. Other things that you can get, the thicker wadding, things like Warm and Natural, Soft and Bright. Some of the other ones you could use as like play mats for kids. So, you know, there are lots of ways you can use wadding, obviously, and you've got to just think, how am I going to use my quilt? Where's it going to go? How often am I going to wash it? How close together do I want to quilt it? Those are all factors. You do not want to end up with a wall hanging that is saggy because you didn't use a substantial enough wadding. Equally, you don't want to end up with a bed quilt that you can't sleep under because it's too heavy. Now, some people will use 2 layers of wadding, like on the Dream Big. Can we see the Dream Big behind, Pete?
Yes, part of it's in the picture.
Okay, so this has got Hobbs Heirloom 80-20, so 80% cotton, 20% polyester, gives it a nice little bit of lift, and then it's got Hobbs wool on the top, and it's given it a really nice, dense... Yeah, I left these table talks, it's not helping. So this has got a really beautiful sort of density to the... And it was always destined, obviously, as a wall hanging. So, you know, that is absolutely
you can really see
fine.
the relief, I think even on the camera here.
That's good.
The impact that the wadding has.
Yes. And let me just remove my sample.
Sorry about the wobbly movements, trying to manoeuvre around lots of stuff.
Yeah, I gave Pete a bit of a salt course to go around. But now there was one. This is something that I was working on. I wanted to see what it was going to look like before I started quilting the final piece. And this is just fabric left over from a Ricky Timms convergence quilt that I was making. So here,
it's the colours of the Norwegian flag.
Is it?
Yeah.
There you go. Just happened to be what I left over.
There we are.
So here, this is just to test density of quilting, very, very heavily quilted, leaving areas quilted and unquilted, and bigger areas quilted with straight line quilting. And this I did with 2 layers of 80-20. I'd never used 2 layers of 80-20, so I wanted to test it. And I also wanted to test out the thread colours. The idea being that I would do some strong contrast of the thread against the back. And this is the quilt. Now, this was a bit of a unfortunate quilt because I had it on and off the frame 3 times. And the last time I put it back on, I hadn't realised I hadn't completely basted it. I started, nearly falling over. I started quilting it, and I have got, I had to unpick it. And I'm still unpicking it because there's a little fold in the back, and I'm not happy about that. So, but this is 80-20, 2 layers of 80-20, and it's going to look really good, I think, when it's actually quilted. Here we go. Convergence, Ricky Timms, with Ricky's beautiful hand-dyed fabrics. Showing that, you know, with 2 layers of wadding, we can get the impact and the results that we want. And because we're not hand quilting it, you know, the machines can easily handle this. It's absolutely not a problem.
Liz,
what?
Question on that quilt.
Yeah.
Does it need binding? Says Carolyn.
It will do. Are you offering? I think I've got enough of the orange left. It's going to look good.
Probably.
You'll love it.
Let's get Liz finishing it first. It might be a few years.
Yeah. we've got classes tomorrow, and we're so busy at the moment. It's lovely that we're busy, but it does mean that my own projects are shelved on a regular basis, as you know. There's so many other things to do, aren't there, as well?
Yeah, Georgie, the 2 layers of 80/20, obviously it's very difficult to see on a sort of 2-dimensional feed like this what it's like. But
you're coming to the class.
Yes, you can have a look at it when you
have
come, Georgie. But it does give quite a lot of relief to it. So it's a very different look to a sort of standard quilt.
Yeah, it is. So that's cool. Right, where are we at with all the things that we want to say? I said everything I want to say, really. Oh, there's going to be, I did a blog post this morning, as I said, on Joe Avery. So have a look at that. There's some lovely photos. And Joe's places, we love Joe's place. In fact, we loved a lot of our customers' places. There were a few where I would have been quite happy just to sort of move in next door. Honestly, we've got some lovely customers who are doing quilting businesses and quilting for other people, and have these lovely places where they do their long arm quilting, and you can come and, there's a nice sofa there and have a chat about your quilt. And so we'll be featuring those on our blog post over the coming weeks. I was intending to do some more blog posts this week, but unfortunately circumstances dictated otherwise for various reasons. And I am a bit behind.
So Marianne says that quilts with wool batting tend to wrinkle less after they've been folded. Would you agree with that?
Yes, I would. I would exactly say that. I think it's a really good point, actually, is that the wool, particularly, I know that I've not used Quilter's Dream wool, but I've heard people say they love it, and I love Hobbs heirloom wool. And both of those have a really beautiful loft, and it just springs back. And when Harriet came over in like the late 90s, and I did some classes with Harriet, she'd got a quilt there. In fact, it's featured in her heirloom machine. This is another book. If you can get a secondhand copy of this, get it, because it's like a brilliant Bible. Heirloom Machine Quilting. To Liz, enjoy, Harriet. 1997, there you go, way back. And in here, there's a quilt that she made that she brought over with her. Now, she'd washed this quilt like 15 times or something. And it was the hand on it. It got Hobbs heirloom wool in it. The hand on it was just absolutely beautiful. And it really had just improved with age. I mean, that's the unusual thing. I'm trying to find it now. It was a lovely, don't worry. I can't find it. It was one of the, that was it. This one, she brought that one over. Pilgrim's Progress, it was called. And it was absolutely beautiful quilt. So machine pieced and quilted using continuous curve, ditch and line in quilting techniques, combination of nylon and cotton thread, Hobbs heirloom premium, 100% wool batting. And she said, she just used it and that handle, and I think, Pete, you might agree that, our log cabin quilt.
Yep.
It just drapes beautifully, doesn't it? And it's got a lovely feel about it. And it doesn't feel heavy. And it's warm in winter, and wool is really such a lovely product. So cool in summer. So I would go wool if you can afford it, because it is more expensive, but it is absolutely fabulous. And if you're going to spend all that time making a beautiful quilt, you need to keep it as an heirloom. And that's where wool comes into its own. So I think we are going to wrap up now, Pete. What else would you like to see? Because I've been talking a lot.
Well, we've just had a little delivery of accessories from Handy Quilter. We were out of stock of a few accessories. Some of the feet, they're all back in. We're pretty good on stocks of all the accessories. All the stencils, the full line stencils are in.
Yes, we got all the stencils are in, including the 6 new ones that we got last week.
Stock of Glide is still pretty good.
Yep, and we've got more Deco Bob arriving this week that we'll have for all the classes. What else? I think that's it, isn't it? We're pretty much there. Now, in terms of machines and things, quite a few people have been really interested in the Sweet 16 upgrade with the Insight table. Just a quick update on that. If you've got Sweet 16 with a machine board of 2.00 and the software version of 3.17 and above, then you will be able to use True Stitch and Insight. But we don't have any stock at the moment because we sold out because we had so many people who were interested in it. So we'll be getting some more in. It'll probably be July now. But if you're interested, let us know, because it's much easier if we can place orders for you now and make sure that we have one for you when it comes in. And you love it, absolutely love it. I know some people are coming for demos and stuff, and we've got some people who will be coming to classes that have bought it, that it's a really good option. Gives you stitch regulation on a sit down. So great. Okay, I think we're done.
Yeah, I'd say there's lots of stock at the moment, but of course we do have classes coming up.
We do.
It's amazing how much stuff people tend to take away with them on classes. So
yeah,
get in there quick.
Yeah, absolutely. Great. Well, listen, it's been lovely. I hope you have. Oh yeah, don't forget.
Just a reminder of the
free bag, orders over £50.
Orders of anything over £50.
Anything over £50. And handy hammock, 10% off until 11 a.m. next Saturday. As usual, we will be live 11 a.m. next Saturday. We'll be talking about more things to do with long arm quilting, and we hope you have a most fantastic week. Thank you very much for watching, either on catch up on YouTube and on Facebook, or for watching live and making some comments, and we'll respond to some of those comments if we haven't already. Have a fabulous weekend. Enjoy the rest of it. It's going to be a beautiful day today, and wherever you are in the world, happy quilting.